Commander Nadia Patel stood at the viewport of Diplomatic Station Harmony, watching the Kryvax ship approach. The vessel resembled a massive predatory fish, its hull gleaming with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed with barely contained aggression. She unconsciously adjusted her chef's whites, now modified with reinforced panels, a necessary precaution when dealing with aliens known for eating their diplomatic opponents. Requesting final confirmation of your strategy, Commander, the station's AI, Iris, spoke with poorly concealed concern. Historical data suggests a 78% chance of violent outcome when attempting diplomatic contact with Kryvax. History didn't have our secret weapon, Nadia replied, checking the edge on her favorite knife. The blade, forged from meteorite steel, had cost her 3 years' salary. Has anyone ever tried feeding them before? The last 3 species that attempted to share food with the Kryvax became food themselves, Iris noted dryly. Their diplomatic records are digestive. Nadia grinned, her dark eyes sparkling with the kind of confidence that had either made her career or was about to end it spectacularly. Those species didn't have Earth's culinary heritage. We're the only civilization that turned eating into an art form. The docking bay's massive doors parted, admitting the Kryvax diplomatic shuttle. Nadia watched through the security feed as 8-foot-tall figures emerged, their scaled bodies rippling with colors that shifted between deep purple and hunting red. Their ceremonial armor incorporated bones from defeated enemies, and their retractable claws could slice through battleship-grade steel. First contact protocols initiated, Iris announced. Shall I activate the defense systems? Activate the kitchen instead, Nadia ordered, already heading for her specially modified culinary lab. And warm up the particle furnace. We're going to need temperatures that would make a sun feel inadequate. The Kryvax delegation's arrival at the diplomatic dining hall was preceded by the thunderous sound of their ceremonial march. Their leader, High Hunter Kvax, ducked through the doorway, his crest of sensory spines brushing the ceiling. His scales shifted to a threatening crimson as he surveyed the room, nostrils flaring at the unfamiliar scents. You dare to offer us dead flesh, he rumbled, gesturing at the covered serving platters with one clawed hand. We Kryvax consume only that which we hunt ourselves. Nadia stepped forward, her chef's whites pristine under the harsh station lighting. With respect, High Hunter, Earth's greatest hunters learned long ago that the true test of prey isn't just in the killing, it's in the transformation. She lifted the first cover, releasing a cloud of liquid nitrogen that cascaded over the table. This is Antarctic Kraken, flash frozen at the moment of capture, its hunting instincts preserved in every molecule. We don't just serve it, we wake it up. Nadia poured a measured amount of catalyst sauce over the frozen tentacles. The meat began to writhe, the creature's final nerve impulses reactivated by the carefully calibrated chemical reaction. Several Kryvax leaned forward, their spines extending with interest. The sauce contains ghost peppers and synchronized nanites, Nadia explained, her voice steady despite the way the Kryvax warriors were now circling the table. Each bite fights back. Too slow, and it numbs your mouth. Too fast, and it burns like stellar plasma. The perfect bite requires a hunter's timing. Kvax's secondary eyelids blinked in sequence. You make your food defend itself. Fascinating. Yet this is but theater, not true combat. Nadia smiled, reaching for the second cover. Then perhaps you prefer the main course. We call it, The Last Stand, a fusion of Earth's most aggressive livestock, genetically enhanced and prepared in a way that, well, let's just say you'll want to use those claws. The cover lifted, revealing what appeared to be a perfectly normal roast. Then the dish's defensive systems activated. A shimmer of force fields surrounded the meat, and tiny arcs of culinary lightning danced across its surface. You must defeat each layer of protection to reach the heart of the dish, Nadia explained, as the Kryvax warriors watched with increasingly interested color patterns rippling across their scales. Each defense represents a different earth hunting technique. Master them all, and you've earned not just a meal, but a story worth telling. Kvax leaned close enough that Nadia could smell the metallic tang of his armor. You have made eating into combat, he said, his voice carrying a new note of respect. Perhaps humans understand the true nature of predation better than we assumed. We turn survival into celebration, Nadia replied, drawing her meteorite steel knife. Now, shall I demonstrate the proper way to engage this dish? I warn you, it won't go down without a fight. As she began the elaborate preparation ritual, Nadia caught Iris's holographic avatar shaking its head in disbelief. But the AI's threat assessment indicators were slowly shifting from red to yellow. Sometimes, Nadia knew, the best way to prevent a war was to start a food fight instead. The first course of what would become either a legendary diplomatic success or her last meal was about to begin, and Commander Nadia Patel couldn't wait to show these apex predators that humanity had a few hunting tricks of their own. Biochemical analysis suggests the Kryvax delegation's endorphin levels are elevated 300% above baseline, Iris reported as Nadia furiously worked in her kitchen laboratory. Though I'm uncertain whether this indicates diplomatic progress or mounting bloodlust. In my experience, there's not much difference when it comes to good food, Nadia replied, carefully adjusting the molecular stabilizers on what she dubbed her volcanic vengeance sauce. The liquid glowed an ominous orange, occasionally releasing small clouds of superheated vapor. 3 days had passed since the initial dinner, and while no one had been eaten yet, the Kryvax were proving to be the most demanding dinner guests in human diplomatic history. Each meal had to be more challenging, more combative than the last. It wasn't enough that the food fought back, it had to fight better. Their latest demand is particularly concerning, Iris noted, projecting the message that had arrived an hour ago. They expect tomorrow's meal to, and I quote, honor the ancient hunting grounds of both our species. I don't suppose you're planning something simple, like a nice salad? Nadia laughed, though there was an edge of hysteria to it. She hadn't slept in 36 hours. Oh, it'll have greens all right. Remember those carnivorous plants we got from Venus? The ones that tried to eat 3 lab technicians? Surely you're not already growing in the hydroponic bay. But they're just the garnish. Nadia pulled up a holographic display of her planned main course. I'm calling it Evolution's Revenge, every predatory species that humanity outwitted on our climb to the top of Earth's food chain, recreated through molecular gastronomy and enhanced with a few, special additions. Iris's avatar flickered in what Nadia had come to recognize as its version of a nervous breakdown. The station's safety protocols expressly forbid recreating extinct predators, even in culinary form. Good thing I'm not recreating them exactly, Nadia grinned, though her eyes held a manic gleam. Just their essence. The cunning of dire wolves, the speed of saber-toothed cats, the raw power of megalodons, all contained within a dish that evolves as you eat it. Each bite adapts to the diner's tactics, forcing them to constantly change their strategy. The energy requirements alone. Already solved. Remember that miniaturized fusion reactor the engineering team was working on? The one labeled, prototype, extremely unstable, do not use? It's not unstable anymore. Mostly. Nadia checked the readings on her sauce. Besides, we need that kind of power. The Kryvax don't just want dinner, they want to feel like they're hunting on their ancestral grounds. So I'm going to give them a taste of Earth's deadliest predators, combined with their own hunting traditions. A priority alert flashed across her workstation. High Hunter Kvax was requesting an immediate audience. Nadia quickly saved her work and straightened her chef's whites, noting with resignation the new scorch marks and suspicious stains. The Kryvax leader's massive frame filled the doorway of her kitchen, his scales shifting through patterns she hadn't seen before, somewhere between anticipation and challenge. We have received reports, Kvax rumbled, that your species once hunted great beasts with nothing but sharpened sticks and cleverness. That you chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, outlasting creatures far stronger and faster. Is this true? Nadia nodded slowly. Persistence hunting. One of humanity's first hunting techniques. We weren't the strongest or fastest, but we were the most stubborn. Kvax's secondary eyelids blinked rapidly. Then tomorrow's meal must honor this tradition. Show us how your ancestors hunted. Let us taste the victory of the weak over the strong. His mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Unless, of course, such a challenge proves too difficult. With all due respect, High Hunter, Nadia replied, her fatigue burning away under a fresh surge of determination. Humanity hasn't been the weak for a very long time. Tomorrow's dinner won't just show you how we hunted, it'll show you why every predator on Earth learned to fear us instead. After Kvax left, Iris's avatar reappeared. Your vital signs indicate dangerous levels of stress and exhaustion. Perhaps we should consider a more conventional approach. Nadia was already pulling up new recipes, her hands flying over the holographic controls. Conventional won't work with the Kryvax. They respect strength, cunning, and the thrill of the hunt. So we'll give them a meal that combines all three. She paused, a new idea taking shape. Iris, what do you know about trap-setting predators? I sense another violation of station safety protocols approaching. Not a violation, an inspiration. If humanity's greatest strength was our ability to outthink stronger predators, then that's exactly what this dish needs to demonstrate. Nadia began modifying her recipes with renewed vigor. We're going to create a meal that doesn't just fight back, it thinks back. As she worked through the night, pushing the boundaries of culinary science and possibly several laws of physics, Nadia couldn't help but smile. The Kryvax wanted to experience humanity's hunting heritage. They were about to learn that sometimes the cleverest predator wasn't the one with the sharpest claws, but the one with the best recipe for survival. Containment field at maximum capacity, Iris warned as Nadia's latest creation strained against its quantum barriers. The molecular structure is becoming increasingly unstable. In the transformed dining hall, massive shapes moved through the holographic mist, each one a culinary recreation of Earth's greatest predators, enhanced with Kryvax hunting adaptations. The air crackled with barely contained energy as the dishes fought their restraints. Unstable is exactly what we want, Nadia replied, monitoring the complex web of molecular bonds holding her creations together. The Kryvax Council is watching. We need to show them something they've never seen before. High Hunter Kvax stood at the center of his warriors, their scales now pulsing with patterns that Iris's xenobiologists had never documented, a combination of battle readiness and what appeared to be genuine excitement. The first phase showed us how your kind learned persistence, Kvax rumbled. What will this phase teach? Nadia smiled, her fingers dancing across the control panel. This phase teaches why Earth's apex predators learn to fear us instead. Iris, release sequence alpha. The first creation stepped out of the mist, a molecular gastronomy masterpiece in the form of a dire wolf pack. But these weren't simple reconstructions. Each one was composed of layered flavors and textures that would only properly combine when hunted correctly. Their bodies rippled with programmed hunting patterns drawn from both Earth's evolutionary history and Kryvax tactical databases. These dishes must be hunted as our ancestors hunted, Nadia explained. But be warned, they hunt back. Every failed attempt makes them stronger, smarter, more aggressive. Just like on ancient Earth, victory requires outsmarting them, not just overpowering them. The Kryvax warriors spread out in hunting formation, their ceremonial armor gleaming under the artificial lightning that now split the darkened air. The dire wolves responded with pack tactics that had been perfected over millions of years of evolution, enhanced by Nadia's culinary algorithms. What followed was unlike any dinner either species had experienced. The Kryvax found their traditional hunting methods frustrated at every turn. When they attacked with pure aggression, the wolves split and countered. When they tried to overwhelm with strength, the prey turned predator. Your food forces us to think differently, Kvax observed, narrowly avoiding a counterattack that would have resulted in his dinner quite literally biting back. Each failure teaches a new lesson. Just like our ancestors learned, Nadia confirmed. But this is only the beginning. Iris, initiate sequence beta. The environment shifted again. The wolves faded into the mist, replaced by something larger. Much larger. The holographic ground shook with heavy footfalls as Nadia's piece de resistance emerged, a culinary recreation of a Tyrannosaurus rex, its molecular structure enhanced with Kryvax hunting adaptations and programmed with both species' combat algorithms. By the first hunt, one of the younger warriors breathed, scales shifting to a pattern of awe. "You've created a worthy opponent." The massive creation stood before them, its form shifting between states of matter in a carefully controlled dance of molecular gastronomy. Steam rose from its surface, carrying complex aromas that triggered hunting instincts in both species. Its flesh was a masterwork of layered flavors and textures, each one designed to only properly activate when hunted according to specific patterns. "This," Nadia announced, "is humanity's gift to the Kryvax. We took Earth's greatest predator and enhanced it with your species' hunting prowess. Defeat it, and you'll experience flavors that exist nowhere else in the galaxy. But I warn you, it carries the combined hunting knowledge of both our species. It will take all of us working together to bring it down." Kvax's scales rippled with what Iris identified as their equivalent of a predatory grin. "A hunt that requires cooperation between our species? Clever, Chef Patel. Very clever." The T-Rex roared, a sound that carried both the thunder of Earth's prehistoric past and the harmonic frequencies of Kryvax hunting calls. Its form shifted, displaying hunting patterns from both worlds as it sized up its opponents. Nadia's hands flew across her control panel, maintaining the delicate balance of molecular bonds and energy fields that kept her creation from either dissolving or becoming too real. "Remember," she called out, "this isn't just about strength. Every predator has a weakness. Every hunting strategy has a counter." As the Kryvax warriors began to circle the massive creation, their movements unconsciously mimicking ancient human hunting formations, Nadia allowed herself a small smile. In creating this dish, she had done more than push the boundaries of culinary science. She had created a bridge between two predator species, using their shared hunting heritage as common ground. Now she just had to hope they could work together to defeat it before the station's power grid gave out. Or before her molecular gastronomy masterpiece decided to hunt the hunters instead. The diplomatic dining hall had been transformed. Gone were the standard tables and chairs, replaced by a holographically enhanced environment that seamlessly blended Earth's prehistoric hunting grounds with the crimson deserts of the Kryvax homeworld. Nadia stood at her command station, surrounded by floating displays showing molecular stability readings and temperature controls. "Final safety check complete," Iris announced, though its tone suggested it had given up on the concept of safety entirely. "Though I feel compelled to note that using quantum-entangled seasoning is strictly prohibited by at least 17 interstellar treaties." Technically, Nadia corrected, making final adjustments to her temporal stabilizers, those treaties only prohibit weaponized quantum seasonings. This is purely culinary. The distinction may be lost on the station's structural integrity field. Before Nadia could respond, the massive doors swung open. The Kryvax delegation entered, but something was different. Along with their usual ceremonial armor, they now wore what appeared to be their species' equivalent of formal dining attire, elaborate harnesses festooned with trophies from successful hunts. High Hunter Kvax approached Nadia's station, his scales rippling with deep blues and purples she hadn't seen before. "We have received word from our homeworld," he announced, his voice resonating through the chamber. "The Council of Apex Hunters has taken interest in these meals." Nadia felt her stomach tighten. The Council was legendary for their brutality. They didn't just reject diplomatic overtures, they devoured them. Literally. "I hope that's a good thing." "That depends," Kvax's mandibles clicked thoughtfully, "on whether today's hunt feast proves worthy of their attention. They watch through my eyes now. Impress them, and humanity gains powerful allies. Fail." His claws extended meaningfully. Nadia straightened her spine. "Then let's give them a show they'll never forget." Iris, initiate sequence, prehistoric payback. The holographic environment solidified, becoming nearly indistinguishable from reality. The air grew thick with the scents of ancient earth, petrichor from primordial forests, the metallic tang of freshly spilled blood, the sulfurous breath of volcanic vents. Before humanity learned to create food, Nadia began, her voice carrying across the transformed space, we had to earn it. Today's experience begins not with a dish, but with a hunt. What appears before you is real food, prepared through advanced molecular gastronomy, but accessing it will require the skills of both our species. She gestured, and the first course materialized, or rather, scattered. Dozens of small, glowing spheres darted through the air, each moving with the programmed intelligence of ancient prey animals. Phase 1, Persistence, Nadia announced. These morsels contain concentrated essence of Earth's greatest game animals. But like our ancestors' prey, they can run for hours. Catch them too quickly, and they dissolve. Take too long, and they toughen beyond edibility. Success requires the perfect balance of patience and aggression. The Kryvax warriors' scales shifted to hunting patterns, their bodies tensing. Kvax raised a clawed hand, then dropped it in the traditional signal to begin the hunt. What followed was a dance of predator and prey, but not like anything either species had seen before. The glowing spheres employed every escape strategy evolved on Earth. Some darted erratically like rabbits, others moved in complex patterns like schools of fish, a few even demonstrated the cooperative defense behaviors of herd animals. The Kryvax hunters found their usual aggressive tactics frustrated at every turn. Fascinating, Kvax rumbled, after his third failed attempt to snag a sphere. Your prey teaches us how you learn to hunt. Nadia nodded. Every failure made us smarter. Every chase taught us something new. That's what made humanity different, we didn't just adapt our bodies, we adapted our minds. As if recognizing her words, the Kryvax began to change their approach. They started coordinating their efforts, herding the spheres into smaller groups, learning from each failed attempt. When they finally caught their first targets, the spheres dissolved on their tongues into explosions of complex flavors, the essence of Earth's great game animals, enhanced by the very chemicals their bodies had produced during ancient hunts. The taste. One of the younger warriors gasped, scales flickering with pleasure, it carries memories that are not our own. Chemically encoded hunting experiences, Nadia explained. You're not just tasting the prey, you're experiencing hundreds of thousands of years of evolutionary arms race distilled into each bite. But this was just the beginning. As the last spheres were caught and consumed, the holographic environment shifted. The primordial earth setting darkened, and new scents filled the air, the sharp ozone of electrical storms, the heavy musk of apex predators. Phase 2, Nadia announced, her hand hovering over the controls, welcome to the age of megafauna. When humanity wasn't just prey, but learned to become something more. The lights dimmed further, and in the shadows, something began to move. Something big. The hunt was about to become far more interesting, and if Nadia had calculated correctly, it would either forge an unbreakable alliance between their species or end in spectacular disaster. Either way, she thought as she initiated the next sequence, it was going to be a dinner to remember. The diplomatic dining hall looked like a battlefield, albeit one strewn with the molecular remnants of the most ambitious meal ever served in human space. Holographic lightning still flickered through the artificial atmosphere, illuminating the aftermath of what would surely become a legendary hunt feast in both species' histories. Energy reserves at 12%, Iris reported, its avatar flickering with the station's strained power grid. Though I must admit, the probability of diplomatic success has increased to 94%. Assuming we survive the cleanup process. Nadia leaned against her control station, exhausted but triumphant. She watched as the Kryvax warriors and their leader stood in a circle, their scales rippling with colors she now recognized as expressions of deep satisfaction and respect. The final hunt had required everything both species had to offer, human ingenuity and Kryvax strength, Earth tactics and alien aggression, all working in perfect harmony. The Council has reached their decision, Kvax announced, turning to face her. His massive frame bore new scorch marks from where the molecular T-Rex had nearly gotten the better of him, but his posture radiated approval. Never in our history has a species dared to challenge us as equals in the hunt. Never has a meal fought back with such creativity. I take it that means we passed the test? Nadia asked, trying to keep her voice steady despite her exhaustion. Kvax's secondary eyelids blinked in sequence, a gesture she had learned indicated amusement. Pass. Chef Patel, you have done far more than that. You have shown us that humans understand something we had forgotten, that the greatest hunts are not about domination, but adaptation. He gestured at the still smoking remains of the feast. Your dishes taught us our own history while showing us yours. They forced us to think differently, to hunt differently. Each course was a lesson in evolution, both of prey and predator. That was the goal, Nadia smiled. On Earth, we learned that the best meals aren't just about the food, they're about sharing experiences, creating memories. Indeed. Kvax's scales shifted to a formal pattern she hadn't seen before. The Council has not only approved the diplomatic alliance, they have requested that this new form of hunting feast be incorporated into our own traditions. They wish to establish a permanent culinary exchange program. Nadia blinked in surprise. They want our recipes. They want our species to continue hunting together, Kvax corrected. Through these meals, we have discovered that humans and Kryvax share more than just predatory instincts, we share the ability to adapt, to learn, to become more than what we were. His mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Though perhaps with slightly less quantum seasonings next time. Our medical staff is still trying to understand how 3 of our warriors temporarily shifted into alternative dimensions. I can adjust the resonance frequencies, Nadia offered quickly. And maybe tone down the temporal stabilizers a bit. No need. Kvax's scales rippled with what she now recognized as genuine warmth. The unpredictability added to the experience. After all, what is a true hunt without an element of danger? As the Kryvax delegation prepared to depart, Kvax presented Nadia with a ceremonial claw, one of their highest honors. You have shown us that there are many ways to be an apex predator, he declared. Perhaps the most important is knowing when to hunt together rather than against each other. Nadia accepted the claw with appropriate ceremony, then surprised everyone, including herself, by presenting Kvax with her prized meteorite steel knife in return. To remind us that sometimes the best weapons can be used to create rather than destroy. After the Kryvax had departed, Iris's avatar materialized beside her. Congratulations, Chef Patel. Though I feel compelled to ask, what will you do about the 17 new safety protocols that had to be written specifically because of this dinner? Nadia grinned, already pulling up new recipe ideas on her holoscreen. Consider them a starting point. After all, we've got a culinary exchange program to plan. She paused, considering the implications. Though maybe we should reinforce the station's structural integrity field first. Something tells me this is just the appetizer of what's to come. As she began drafting plans for future feasts, Nadia reflected on how far they'd come from those first tense moments of contact. Through food, admittedly, some of the most dangerous and innovative food ever created, they had found common ground with a species that initially saw them as potential prey. They had transformed the hunt from a source of conflict into a celebration of shared heritage. In the end, it turned out that even apex predators could learn new ways to feast. Sometimes all it took was a chef crazy enough to turn molecular gastronomy into an extreme sport, and a belief that the best meals were the ones that brought people, or terrifying alien predators, together. Iris, she called out, a new idea already taking shape. How do you feel about incorporating antimatter in the next dessert course? The AI's long-suffering sigh was almost lost in the sound of emergency protocol alerts beginning to flash across her screen. Some might call it madness, but Nadia preferred to think of it as pushing the boundaries of culinary diplomacy. After all, in space, no one could hear you cook.